So this is, I guess, where we're beginning. All right. So, as you all know, based upon everything going on with COVID-19, Iron House Strength and Conditioning is closed for the time being. I'm assuming all the way through April. And in the meantime, we wanted to be able to help you guys through this time by offering up some of our education that we work with our clients. Some more advanced topics as we will go down the road. Like this one today, we're going to present on ketogenic diets. So by the time you are done with this presentation, and all the ridiculousness goes on with it, you should be able to put together a ketogenic diet for yourself. Next week, we're going to do a video on macro counting. And then the third one we're looking at doing is one on immunity. So we're going to do a couple of these in our time to help further educate you guys. In the meantime, we wanted to say thank you for all the support you guys have given us through all this. I did not fart. Landon's just being Landon back there. But we want to say thank you. It means a lot to us to have you guys still supporting the Iron House brand and our individual coaching brands. So thank you guys for that. Without further ado, we're going to learn how to do this today. It's our first time, so bear with us if it's real weird. You know how we are anyway. So we're going to begin with ketogenic dieting. We're going to share my desktop screen. I made sure there was no porn on it. All right. So the first slide is ketogenic dieting by Jeff Black, Ashley Bowman, and Landon Nix. It's like reading a story. This is so nice. All right.
What is ketogenic dieting? Basically, it is low carb, high fat, like moderate protein dieting. It's similar to Atkins. It's basically where we reduce the carbs that are in your body and you go into a state of ketosis. These are the foods that you can use to do so. There's a list. And then on our next slide, why ketogenic dieting? So the state of ketosis that your body enters, basically it allows for you to burn fat for energy. And it causes lowered blood sugar, and so that you are more insulin sensitive. These are foods that you can use, vegetables for keto, best and worst, because I feel like a lot of times we talk about it, and people are like, oh, I eat vegetables. Well, if you're eating, a sweet potato or regular potato, you're probably not doing keto. So we wanted to give like a more visual option for you to see things that you should be eating, things you might not want to be eating in this scenario. Next, benefits of keto. Like we were saying, insulin sensitivity is really the goal. So because your carbs are so reduced, your blood sugar will be reduced. It allows for you to burn more fat. Keto also allows for the higher fat is better cognitive functioning. Essentially what we're trying to do is get better biofeedback markers. And that's kind of what some of the things here are trying to show you.
Come on down, buddy.
I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Fired up.
All right. So we got some drawbacks to the ketogenic dieting as well. And they're not all fuck off. You experience mostly lack of energy just because you are trying to change your body to burn ketones instead of using glycogen that you get from carbs. So along with this can come some feelings of hypoglycemia, even if you're not technically in the hypoglycemic range. You could still feel this way if you do have a significant amount of drop in your blood sugar. So just sweating, like lightheadedness, you can feel shaky, maybe some headaches or something like that. Haven't had any experience with this one as far as my clients go. They normally don't get any sort of like GI distress or gut health problems. They're normally pretty clear, but you could feel a little bit bloated doing this as well. Obviously your muscle energy, so you're not getting glycogen source from carbs, so therefore you're going to be a little bit on the depleted side from there, but hopefully the ketones will kick in. But yeah, dehydration as well. I hate this. Some training and cardio considerations. Same thing, you're not getting carbs, so you're going to be a little lower on the energy side. Therefore, if you add in some sodium and some potassium, maybe you're going to get that energy back. In a sense, it's going to give you a pretty decent pump during your workouts. Keep in mind that when you restrict your carbs, you're depriving your muscles of the fuel that they need to power through a workout. So if you're doing cardio, maybe pull back on HIIT a little bit and like increase your lifts. Always try to get in your fasted cardio. But yeah, when you do HIIT, you're essentially trying to pull and activate the glycogen from the carbs as the fast acting fuel source. And running on a higher fat diet, lower carb is going to impact that pretty heavily. So just be cautious. And your blood glucose as well could drop too low. Move on.
All right, so we have some supplement considerations as Landon talked about. You have some sodium, potassium, but you also want to remember you want to have your magnesium. When people are on ketogenic dieting, I recommend 400 milligrams to 800 milligrams of magnesium glycate. This will help keep your magnesium stores up, which you will also notice, as Landon said, help you through your workouts. Also for cramping too. You have ketones, so that's a form of energy that they have in these essential amino acid drink is what you drink, right? Yeah, essential energy by New Ethics. What is that? How do you feel on that supplement? Because you've done that in keto, so how do you feel on that?
It actually gives me the energy I need. I think you can tell a massive difference without it. The pump that you get, because there's obviously no glycogen. So the pump that you're getting from that, the sodium and the magnesium and everything that's in there, it's significantly better than what I've gotten anywhere else.
Okay. So the next one after that would be calcium. Because the American diet is heavily fortified in calcium, and you're going to be eating greens mostly, calcium is usually covered. The only time I've ever seen that be an issue were in postmenopausal women, where they might have needed some calcium, and that was because they had other issues going on and were advised by their doctors. You have branched chain amino acids and essential amino acids. These basically help you hold on and preserve muscle when you're in a state where carbohydrates are low. They will also be used in the middle of your workout as well to help you recover during your workout, and can be used to help meet a protein requirement you might have. Hydration is very important. As Landon said, you can get dehydrated on a diet like this. You got to remember, for every gram of carbohydrate you consume, 3.2 grams of water attaches to it. So in a low carb environment, dehydration is present. So you want to make sure you fortify with extra water and potassium, sodium, and magnesium. The other thing you could do, and I have used this as a trick, you have something called glucose disposal agents. A lot of people who met ketogenic dieting will benefit have higher than normal blood glucose levels. And what a way you will want to do to bring those levels down is use a product like a glucose disposal agent. You're thinking chromium, alpha lipoic acid, things like that. But what it will help you do is get those blood glucose numbers down, where your body's going to be burning more fat for fuel because of the fuel source you're switching from. So from there, we want to take you guys through setting up a traditional keto or ketogenic diet. So this shit is destroyed everywhere I've ever seen, but there are some good coaches who know how to set up a true keto diet. A true ketogenic diet, 70% of your daily calories come in fat grams. 25% come in protein and 5% in calories. You will see people, maybe Karen at Qdoba, which recently, happened to me before all the lockdown, was telling her friend, oh girl, you can eat all the protein you want on keto. Wrong. No. Keto. That's wrong. Bad Karen. Gluconeogenesis can happen. And at what point with gluconeogenesis, you are having protein actually convert into carbohydrates, into glucose in your bloodstream, therefore kicking you up out of a ketogenic state because your blood glucose levels are climbing. I have seen it a lot. So you want to make sure that if you're on a true ketogenic diet standpoint, to reset your body for inflammation, to get your blood sugar back down, that you're going with a traditional keto approach. An example would be if someone was on an 1,800 calorie diet, 140 grams, so 1,260 calories is going to come from fat. You're going to have 112.5 grams of protein, and then that'll give you 450 kcals, and then you have 22.5 grams of carbs, plus minus 4K carbs a cal will give you 90 calories, okay? So as you guys can see, that's a real keto diet. So basically you're just eating salads and cheeses and meats at that point, because you got to keep those carbs down. Now, is this the absolute way? 100% can tell you no. I've got some people that they just can't adhere to that 5% carb number, so I have to adjust things out. And I then will rely on blood glucose monitoring to help me decide where that protein number needs to go. So there are various hacks to this you could do. And then there's something called a ketogenic adapted diet, where protein is higher, more around 35 to 40% of your calories, with carbs still at 5% or less. So I've actually gotten really good results of having clients who manage to get ketogenesis eating around 10% of their total calories and carbs. So everyone's individual, and you definitely want to, if you're doing this, watch your biofeedbacks, like Ashley said, and different markers while you're going down this. From there, we want to talk about something pretty important, which we get a lot of the questions about, and this is net carbohydrates. I'm going to let Landon talk about it. Landon. That was Joey that night. Oh.
All right, so net carbs. People think that they know everything about keto whenever they hit the Google search. Not exactly true. I'll just break it down. You still have to count every single carb that you eat. It doesn't matter if it has fiber or not. However, you should definitely be focusing on fiber intake for sure. I would, women 20 and 30 grams. Men can go a little bit higher than that. I would just be a good starting place, to say the least. But you still have to count those as carbs and calories in. You can't just, they're not magical and they don't just disappear. Fiber doesn't have a direct response on insulin, but that still doesn't mean, like I said, that it shouldn't go unaccounted for. Obviously, fiber is great for your digestion system as well. It's going to help that out. The basis of it is you still need to count net carbs. How you get it, an example would be if you had 30 grams of carbs total, sugar, alcohols, and fiber both count as your subtracting, is what they would call it for a net carbohydrate. So basically you would just add the sugar, alcohols, and the fiber up, and then that would be a total amount of net carbs technically. So from 30, if you had 20 grams of sugar, alcohols, 4 grams of fiber, you would technically come out with 6 grams of net carbs. However, you still need to count those extra calories in there, just because, you could be off if you are counting macros.
Got crazy dog. Dog almost took his knee out. Want to note there real quick, you can eat yourself out of a deficit with vegetables. I've seen it happen. I know we all have. So that's what we're trying to get to be mindful of. People assume it's free, but no, it's not. It's still got a caloric value. It's just the impact on your blood glucose.
Of note, sugar, alcohols are still raising your insulin.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you are counting your net carbs, it's still being raised. So you might be knocking yourself out of ketosis doing things like that.
From there, we got how to apply ketogenic dieting. So you have a starting point. You got genetics, blood glucose readings, and blood work. Ideally, you would have all three of these present, but most people don't have the best genetics, don't even know how to get their blood sugar, and most definitely don't have complete comprehensive blood work. So when you're working with us, a lot of the ways we get our results is we step back and we ask ourselves, this person gives us a picture that they're painting that they want us to achieve. We look at them, and you're able to tell some people who are athletically built, some people who have been doing this a long time, some people who haven't, some people who just might not have the best genetics to drop fat quickly or build muscle. And you have to build every plan individually. So this is where biofeedbacks come in. And with complete blood work, meaning blood work that covers your whole thyroid, for an example, from your free T3 to your free T4 to your reverse T3 to your thyroid antibodies, helps paint a picture of what's really going on. But if you don't, and along with your hormone panel too, men, testosterone and estradiol, women, you have progesterone, DHEA, androstenedione, you got cortisol levels, which impact progesterone, which is also a female hormone, estrogen, pregnenolone. There's a lot that goes into this, and everything can be causing tips and balances. So when you're starting someone out and you're doing a ketogenic diet, you're usually doing it, or giving a person a keto adapted diet or things like that, you're usually doing it to fix or correct something. And what that usually is high blood glucose. So you are going to, you want to make sure you get a blood glucometer where you're pricking your finger first thing in the morning. And then when you prick it, you want to wipe the first blood wipe off and then gently rub to use the second one. You're looking for your numbers to be below 100, okay? Ideally, you want it to be underneath 90. And when you're underneath 80, you're in a really good fat burning state, okay? Now, I can say this. I do not do well on a ketogenic diet. It does not do well with me. I love the fact that I'm never hungry on it, but for whatever reason, my blood glucose goes up, and it doesn't matter how low I go my protein. I've gone as low as 10% of my protein before. My BGs were still in the 90s. So the only thing I could assume was all the fat was slowing down my digestion to some degree and causing digestive issues for me. I do better on a lower, moderate fat intake with carb cycling approach, which is why we're going to do a presentation on that, giving you the other side, because keto is all the rage. But you want your blood glucose readings to be 100 or less. If they are over 100 and they are continually over 100, especially if they're north of 120, is a time when you're going to utilize a ketogenic diet. Okay, that fasted number tells you a lot, and it usually will tell you a lot in regards to cortisol and stress. If your cortisol is up, your blood sugar will be up. If you don't get good enough sleep, your blood sugar is going to be up. Various things can cause insulin resistance, up including PCOS in women and men who have low testosterone. So these blood glucose readings drive a lot of data. The way to tell that if keto were be of use for you would be, I think above all else, besides like if they had insulin resistance and so forth, would be if you're working out and you take your blood glucose 2 hours after a meal and it is still significantly elevated, like in the 120s, you either ate way too much fat, slowed down the digestion, or you are not burning through carbohydrates like you should, and your body is not storing them efficiently, which means you're then insulin resistant. Another way to be able to tell that for sure would be with blood work. You'd be looking for your fasted insulin state. So those are a couple different markers you can look at, along with C-reactive protein and homeocysteine, or homocysteine, which is actually there are two markers of inflammation. So along the way, when you begin a ketogenic diet, I like a lot of my clients, and I don't know for you all, but for me, about 3 to 4 weeks is what I like to do these for, to kind of reset insulin sensitivity, give a good break, gives good different food options. It alleviates some food boredom for some people. So they're good like that. Now, after a little bit, you're going to want to do refeed days, and that's going to be where you switch out the carbohydrate fats for carbohydrates. So you will want to shift to 40% of your food for one day of your daily calories to be coming from carbohydrates, and fat going to about 15-20%. What this will do is this will help boost leptin, which Landon just wrote a great article on, which will be coming out in the newsletter along with this. And it'll also help kick your thyroid hormone and stuff like that up inside your body. They've shown through these refeeds in a new study that came out of the University of South Florida, where Laura Conlon, who's been a guest on the Excellence Cartel, and a guy named Bill Campbell are doing research down there. And they've shown that 5 days in a deficit with a 2-day refeed causes the leptin issues and the thyroid issues to be prolonged as far as down regulation goes. I don't know how it was it was not presented in the lore of ketogenic dieting, but I can tell you from real world experience that you're going to want to do a refeed every couple of days and every couple of weeks in a ketogenic diet. And you're going to want to do that to prevent your metabolism from going down. I recently got a client who'd been on keto for 16 months, and she cut meals after a little bit and was down to eating 900 calories, and her body just started gaining weight. So you have to make sure you eat. Okay, so that's why these numbers seem to see, but you have to feed a metabolism to feed your body and feed your hormones. So understanding some of this is very important, but you want to make sure that you don't do keto at max for longer than a couple of weeks without having someone else maybe guide you and consult with you on your biofeedbacks. The other thing would be metabolic downregulation. Like I said, the thyroid output lowers, and then cycling keto. I think this works better with women than it does men. I don't know what you all would agree, but I think women generally like to do keto more than men do, because a lot of women will like things like salad and more fattier sources that they will go for, where men will want more like protein and cereals and stuff like that. It's just what I've seen with me. So I have an easier time convincing a woman to do a ketogenic diet, and for a lot of women, it is a great mental reset and something that is utilized more so in that term if I deploy it, or if I would have someone right out of the gate who would need it for a medical need. In terms of like their hyperinsulinemia levels, blood glucose levels are high, high inflammation, so forth. But that pretty much would be how I would approach keto. What about you guys? Same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like to use it too when people travel often. It can
Yeah,
be
that's a good
little
call.
bit easier to get.
Yeah, because it's easier to eat meat, salads, cheeses, things like that. And then the summary. So I think you need to ask yourself, what are your goals? I don't think this diet would be good to do in Tennessee heat. Primarily because of the dehydration that occurs because of the heat around here and so forth. I would do this more of a winter thing where fats, satisfy your hunger a little bit more. In winter, you tend to kind of pick at food a little bit more. That maybe would be the time I would do keto. Evaluations, you want a full client profile, in-depth questionnaires and blood work if possible. Ladies, I would recommend you all get the Dutch test. It is a urine-based test, which tests all your hormones, including cortisol. It also tests your neurotransmitters so you can understand your moods and things like that. Gentlemen, when you all do blood work, you want to make sure you guys are getting your testosterone and estrogen levels checked. And then the other thing is you guys want to make sure you all get a complete thyroid panel, because if your thyroid is usually down or off somewhere, it means you've got some gut issues. So in that kind of situation, maybe keto does work depending upon other biofeedbacks of your blood, but blood work will help you decide which diet best to employ at which time is how I think I feel on it. And I think they do too. Considerations, like I said, would be digestion, blood glucose levels, and medicinal. There are no magic foods. You must make sure you cover your micronutrients and antioxidants. So, if you hear about, someone who eats only, this certain beef or this certain thing, you want to make sure that you're eating a round food source of vegetables, eating around the rainbow. That's why Ashley put the pictures and all that, to make sure you're getting the micronutrients and antioxidants to be able to properly fulfill your body's optimal processes as far as thyroid and everything else. You guys have anything else you want to chime in?
No, I don't think so.
So our conclusion as a panel is this is probably not the best all-around diet. In fact, I don't think there is a best all-around diet. I think it's finding the best diet that works for you. With that being said, I do have clients that do higher fat, lower carb diets. But as far as a true ketogenic, where I'd have to worry about them doing checking their ketone levels and their blood glucose levels all the time, out of about 90, 100 clients I work with, I probably have maybe 2. So that's been the only time I've really full-on ketogenic diets. I maybe write them out, the macro numbers, a couple of times a year, which leads us to our next topic next week, which will be on macro counting and carb cycling. And that's kind of one of our more favorite approaches. And then we can back that up with what we feel is some good advice on when we like them. And then hopefully leave you all being able to pick which is best for you based upon your goals, either a keto setup or a carb cycle setup. But in the meantime, thank you for bearing with us. Hopefully this wasn't too terrible.
Maybe the next one will be better.
Maybe. I went, no,
Don't bet on it.
Don't bet on that shit. But from the bottom of our hearts, we really thank you guys for the support. And we look forward to seeing you guys back within the walls of Iron House very soon. I believe it will be sooner than later. And when we get back to doing what we do best, it's going to be a good day in there again. And I look forward to that day. Y'all take care.